dump this out. First things first, the pack itself. It's so full. Okay. The pack itself is the Mech Slog Deluxe. I think it's called the Slog HD now. It was discontinued, but I think they just brought it back, which is awesome because I absolutely love it. I used to have like a fabric backpack, and several years ago I went to this waterproof pack, and I would never go back now. Straps are comfortable. It's got like a rigid spine here. It just rolls over to waterproof, and I just noticed this yesterday actually, where it rolls over here, it's starting to wear down and crack a little bit, which is too bad. But I can't complain about that pack. It's done a lot. That's the 115 liter. There's also I think a 70 liter. If you're an ultralight packer, you could get away with the 70, but there's no chance for me or for Aaron. We don't pack that light. I'm just this is totally off the cuff. It's not like a prepared presentation or anything. I'm just going to dump it out, give my impromptu thoughts. This is my clothing bag. You can just squeeze it down and then roll it up. It's a roll top bag. This one I think is by Seal Line. I'm not seeing the label, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, there it is. That's Seal Line. I generally like their dry bags. And I keep all my clothes in there just in case the bag somehow springs a leak and then all my clothes don't get soaked. And it just keeps the bag organized. Some of the bags, I have lots of dry bags within my dry pack, and some of them might seem superfluous, but I just like them because it organizes my bag even beyond the dry proofing, waterproofing. This is my laundry hamper, just a little drawstring bag, and if I have like dirty clothes of any kind that I'm not going to wear again that trip, then they go in here. Again, just keeping the bag organized. This is my book bag. Occasionally I'll have something, other little things in there, like maybe battery, a power bank. But I just keep a book and my reading glasses in there. Plastic bag, what's in this? Just my camp shoes, which are these Merrell Mocks. I'm going to go over footwear separately in the apparel video, so put that away for now, but I like to have just a nice dry pair to wear around camp, because my day shoes, I commit to getting them wet and muddy and disgusting. So the Boreal 24 saw, that generally goes in my big pack because it's, you know, relatively long, so it's nice to not have to carry it on portage, just to slip it down the side. Doesn't take up much room, and it's a powerful tool out there. My sleeping bag. This is the Mech Talon -20 bag. I don't think it's made anymore, or if it is, it's under a different name. But this is a down bag. I definitely am a down person rather than synthetic. Sure, they say synthetic performs better if it gets wet, but if my sleeping bag is wet, then something has gone terribly wrong, and like that you just should not allow that to happen. So I go with down. It compacts way smaller, and pound for pound provides way more insulation, but it's more expensive as well. This one I think is $750 fill power, and or maybe $800. Fill power is like a rating of the down and how much loft it has, essentially. And the higher the number, the better. Lower grade sleeping bags will have low fill power numbers, like 600, let's say, and use duck down instead of goose down, perhaps. But I like this sleeping bag well enough. This is in its loose case. There is a smaller case that goes inside here, which brings it down to probably half the size, kind of compresses it. But right now when I'm at home, this is in long-term storage, which is usually not that long-term, but just between trips. It should always go in a larger bag. If you have it compressed long-term, you're going to ruin the loft of the down. And this is an extremely expensive sleeping bag. It was like $600, and that's actually on the low end for a -20 down bag. So I want to prolong this and give it a long life. If you have it bunched up like this, you're ruining it. So let it loft up and breathe when it's in storage, and then pack it away in your smaller bag for actual trips when you need to conserve space. Alright, what do I sleep in? This is the Hammock Drummer 5.0. I also have the ultralight. This is my go-to shelter, hands down. We absolutely love these. They're so comfortable. Just did a separate video on this, so I'm not going to go into detail on it. But it's a flat sleeping hammock. Within it is a sleeping pad. A sleeping pad is a required part of the drummer because it sleeps perpendicular to the ridgeline. A traditional hammock goes from tree to tree and you sleep tree to tree. This one, the hammock goes tree to tree, but you sleep perpendicular. So that's why you need a sleeping mat is required in the drummer. And this is the Fuel XL Winter Light. I love this pad. It is quite light and it's R value of 5, so I bring this in the summer sometimes, even with the high R value. You would think you would overheat, but I don't seem to get a lot of heat on my trips. And up here where we live in Northern Ontario, especially close to Lake Superior, it really never gets that hot. A hot day in the town that we live in is like 25 degrees Celsius, and that's quite infrequent. Even in the middle of summer, usually you're sitting in low 20s just because of the effect of Superior. And that effect carries inland a little ways, and in that case I might bring a lighter pad, but most of the year I'm bringing the Winter Light. I also have a liner. This is the Sea to Summit Thermolite Reactor Extreme. What a mouthful. It's just a polyester liner which is supposed to increase the warmth of a sleeping bag by 25 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, which is definitely a lie. That's just marketing deceit. Classic marketers. And it does provide some warmth, no question. But 25 degrees Fahrenheit, I highly doubt that. It's hard to disprove these things, you know. That's when the most outrageous claims are made. Who's going to actually try and go and disprove that? But the other great thing about a liner, and why I would highly recommend them, any kind of a liner, it doesn't have to, this one's expensive, it was like 80 bucks I think, for, you know, expensive for what it is. But it comes in a nice little case with a drawstring, and it's well made. The quality is good. I will definitely give them that, and Sea to Summit I like. But the main reason for having a liner in your sleeping bag is to protect your bag. When you're in your sleeping bag, you might be sweaty, dirty, oily. Your skin has oil no matter what, even if you are clean. And that's rubbing off on the inside of your sleeping bag unless you use a liner. So the less you have to wash your sleeping bag, the better. I have had this sleeping bag for I think 3 years now, and I've never washed it. I might never wash it ever. And that's because I use a liner. The more you wash it, the more you're going to wear down the down. There are technical detergents which are down safe, but I prefer not to. So I use that, and this is easy to wash. So whatever oils and dirt you're getting inside, bringing into the sleeping bag on your body, you can just wash that. That's not a problem. Next, I have the Base Camp pillow from Mac. It's probably bigger than most people would tolerate for a pillow. There are certainly smaller ones. Aaron has a much smaller one from Mech that folds up into like a deck of cards basically, and you inflate that one. This one actually is self-inflating, which I really don't care about. It takes like 2 breaths to inflate something like this. It has a bit of structure. It's a good sized pillow, and that's important to me. I'm not like the best sleeper, so having every tool at my disposal to help me sleep is valuable to me, and it's worth a little weight and bulk. Forgot to mention these are the pole set for the Hammock. They just hold up the foot and end box. They collapse like that. You can use sticks, but I really like these. It's just nice to not have to think about that when you get to camp. Tarp for my hammock. This is the Skjold 10 Ultralight from Hammock, and I love it. I was using their previous version last year, and I found it was a bit small. It just did the trick, and it was a bit smaller and lighter, but I actually told them, coincidentally they're already working on it, but I would love a bigger tarp is what I told them. And this one's just a bit more generous, so if there's like heavy rain coming down, or if If you want to actually like cook a meal under the tarp while the hammock's out of the way, you can do that. So I love this tarp, very lightweight too. And then this bag is like our toiletries bag essentially. So in here we have toilet paper, we have napkins. Napkins can be invaluable. I don't like using paper products excessively because we clear cut forests to use them. But the odd one here and there can be really valuable. Like if you cook something really oily, you might end up having to use a lot of soap to clean that pan or your plate. One of these just mops up so much oil and then it speeds up your cleaning process. And then typically, if I'm in that scenario, I don't really use soap much anymore, dish detergent out there. I just wipe it down. You can also use a bit of moss if you're in a wilderness environment. If you're on like a heavily used campsite, then I wouldn't use natural materials as cleaners, because if everyone does that, that campsite's going to look real sparse. But these can be really handy, and then I just boil that pot or pan after. I just put some water in it and boil it on the fire to clean it and sanitize it. This is some of our first aid kit. The rest is somewhere else over there. But it's got some back pain stuff, and then all the standard things. I'm not actually going to open this up because someone more qualified should be educating on first aid kits. That's not me. I've never taken a course in wilderness first aid. I would love to. Haven't had that opportunity yet. I'm hesitant to give that advice, so please just go and look up someone else's video on that. A little roll of duct tape. This is, I think, the Gorilla Tape, Gorilla Glue, whatever. It's a small roll. It's only about 1 inch wide, but that's nice because I don't want to bring a big hulking roll of duct tape. That's just way too heavy. But this is nice. Duct tape is really critical out there. It can do so many things. Get you out of so many jams. Some fragrance-free deodorant if I'm feeling disgusting. A trowel for digging a little cat hole to poop in. These are leftover T3s from when I passed a kidney stone at the age of 29. Probably from eating so many chips. Or spinach. I eat a lot of spinach. Apparently that's high in oxalates, and if you don't bind it with calcium, I think, something like that, it can lead to kidney stones. So, funny, trying to eat healthy and eat all the spinach might have caused the kidney stone. It was very unpleasant. Anyway, by the time I got the T3s, the ordeal was over. So I have these left over, and I keep them in my kit in the event of extreme pain. Something to numb the pain a little. This is another bit of medicine. We've got some ibuprofen in there, some, what do you call them? Anti-Allergy Medicine. There's a smarter word for that, but whatever. And some laxatives, which we put in here for our Quetico trip, just in case things weren't flowing. And we didn't have to use them, and now they're in here. I'm just leaving them in. I don't think that's a real concern on a shorter trip, but on a long one, like 2 weeks in Quetico, we wanted to make sure that didn't become an issue. In this little tin, I've got a few extra things. I've got a small zip tie if I ever need to really secure something solidly. I have 3 AAA batteries for my headlamp. A little tube of super glue, which can be quite handy. Probably a bigger one would be better. I use to drink water. I either boil it or I use the filter as long as it's above freezing. Can't bring the filter when it's below freezing because it'll damage the filter when it freezes. But as a backup, I always have some Aqua Tabs, some water purification tablets in here just as a last resort. I don't really like using them though. They have a bit of a flavor, and especially if the water is very cold. I find like if it's in the shoulder seasons and I drop one of these into cold water, or even if it's from the winter and I dunk my water bottle in the frozen lake out of an ice fishing hole and then put one of these in, I find with cold water they especially taste bad, and they upset my stomach and make it feel weird. Just one random bandage that should really just go in the rest of the first aid kit. What else? That's it. That's it for the toiletries and like health bag, and that's actually it for my main kit. But then a few extra things. These, you know, there are many variations of my kit that are possible. This is just like a typical one. If I want a big tarp, I have this Eureka Vcs 13 tarp, which Pine Martin, his video, talked me into getting that many years ago. And with the bug room, the mesh room, I think Eureka still makes it, but now it's called the no-fly zone, and I'm not sure if this is detachable anymore, the mesh room. This is a nice big tarp, so if I'm on a really rainy trip, like the Pick River trip, Leave Behind last year, I brought this tarp just because I knew it was going to be really rainy. I wanted ample real estate to live under during those rainy times, and I was glad to have it. If I'm not bringing the big sleeping bag, I also have this little one from Sale. It's made by Chinook. This one's rated to +2. So a much lighter sleeping bag, and I do have this in a compression sack, which is not great, but it was a cheaper bag and it's older and I care less about it now. I guess that's how gear goes. You take really good care of your new stuff, and then the old stuff kind of is a second-class citizen. If we're bringing a tent, we have this Wildlands one, which was terrific. We used it last fall together. We used it when we went out with Aaron's sister as well. So we put that through a wicked storm, lightning storm with crazy winds. We took it on a cold trip, and I think we took it in the winter once, and it's held up great. But typically we are hammockers. We love the hammock. There are some major advantages for each. If you want to bring a tent, the beauty of it is that you only have to set up one, and it is probably faster to set up this tent than to set up one hammock. So that's a big advantage if you're trying to get going and you're moving, if you have multiple people. If you have like 3 people, let's say, it would probably make a lot more sense to bring one big tent than 3 separate hammocks or 3 separate small tents. But we're not so bulk and weight sensitive. We're not gram counters, so we're happy to have the comfort of our sleeping bag or our hammocks, and to sacrifice that. But the nice thing about the tent also is that you can, you know, snuggle up together if you're with your partner or someone you actually want to snuggle up against. If you're with buddies, you may not like that. It's nice to have the personal space. So hammocks versus tents, some big pros and cons. The biggest con with the tent is that if it's really nasty out, you're setting that up on the ground, which is potentially soaked. The hammock, you never have to worry about rain or wet ground. You can set up your tarp first, get the hammock under it, and you never have to touch the ground. So that's a beautiful thing. And then this little foam pad, which you can sit on. Thanks Kevin for sending these. Yeah, that's it. That's everything. Oh no, it's not. So I also got a map case. I'm just including this. This is kind of separate. I don't actually keep it in my pack, but it just has nowhere else to go in this series. So a map case is great. I used to try and laminate maps. I would pay to have them laminated. You know, just print them at a print shop or at home, take them into a print shop and have them laminated. I don't understand why I ever did that or why it's so frequently done. Unless it's a map that you're going to use like repetitively every year, then maybe you can justify the cost, but just put that cost toward buying one map case. I think that makes a lot more sense. And then you can throw other things in here too. Like I've got songs to sing if I'm alone. I love to sing in the canoe. So I've got some of my favorites here. If I have them pretty much all memorized now, but if I forget, I can just look. A little pocket guide to weather forecasting. I've slipped this in here sometimes to refresh myself. And then various maps. Yeah, love the map case. This one's by Seal Line as well. And this is almost the end of this video. There's a few parts in this day bag. I'm including this in the main pack video because I clip it onto my pack on portages. Just roll it up and then clip this through a loop or something on the pack so I don't have to carry it. Within my day bag, I've got bear spray. I keep this on my belt actually most of the time. We've got our ZOLEO satellite communications device. It's been so great so far this year. Just being out in the bush and testing it, I've just loved it. A little scooper. This is a lotion bottle that I cut and I can kind of scrape the bottom of the canoe. It's malleable, you know, so you can really get in there. You can also use a large sponge. That would work. The Gone Boy by Silky. I love this saw. I broke the blade recently. But yeah, it's a terrific saw and I love it because it's long enough. Like I'm not sure the length, 10 inches maybe. But it still fits in my pocket. I have large pockets in my camping pants. So that is really handy on portages just to be able to slip it in and out. This little case has some odds and ends. A little mirror, which can be used for signaling, some basic first aid, and some more water tablets. More band-aids than first aid, actually. A tick remover. I've never found a tick on myself. I'll go into why that might be in the apparel video. A lighter, a backup lighter. I have several backup lighters throughout my kit. I am a lighter guy. I don't use fire steel or Zippos or anything else. I just use a Bic. Nail clippers. Huge. And tweezers. If you ever need to get out a sliver or a nasty hangnail, it's such a discomfort to have those things weighing on you for days on end perhaps. So definitely worth bringing those. Another lighter. Some hand sand. It's just kind of a courtesy to have it and use it when you're with others so your hands aren't disgusting while you're preparing their food. And wash them with water, of course. It's a little sunscreen. I don't bring much. This is just for my face. The rest of my skin is covered by clothing year round. So I don't need sunscreen on my arms, neck, back, and all that. We'll get into that as well in the apparel video. But yeah, just for my face, really. Sunglasses are in here. It's crucial. Sunglasses are so important. Protect your eyes, and just for comfort. This is a nasal spray to keep my airways open. I find they get congested pretty often. A headlamp, and that's it. Toothless. Our cat is sitting there, and she looks unimpressed, as you probably are. Boring content. Never wanted to make it, but here it is. On to the next one. What are you doing, Tui? I don't want to make this content either. I'm really sorry. There's more. I forgot my checklists. For trips I have some checklists, namely the final check, which has things that could easily, like all this stuff just lives in my Mech Slog Deluxe bag. I can just pick up and go at any minute, just have to throw some food together, everything else is in my bag. But these are things that may come out of the bag or out of my kit that I need to remember to put back in before a trip. So this final check is the ZOLEO fridge food. So easy to forget your food that's in your fridge because you packed everything else into your barrel and you're raring to go in the morning to leave for your trip and you forget your food in the fridge. I've done it. So that's why it's on the list. Glasses and a book. Those may have come out. I may have continued reading it at home. A rain jacket, another item that I share between regular life and camping. Both shoes, meaning my dry shoes for camp and my hiking shoe boots. Keys, wallet, cell phone, chargers, charging cords. I'll bring a power bank sometimes and charge things off of it. My map, a printed copy and digital. I use Avenza Maps for the digital one. And a weather forecast, like a screenshot of a weather forecast, which I don't really need anymore because I have the ZOLEO. And then I have another checklist for long trips, special items that should be brought for a longer trip. Lip balm with SPF to protect your lips from sunburn. They'll get all dry and cracked on a long trip. Laxatives, covered that. Rash cream. This is just, it's mostly in the black part there, but this is just zinc oxide rash cream. I think that's what you put on diaper rash for babies. Very effective if you're like chafing anywhere. That can be super unpleasant for a trip. So just a little bit of this, just a little smear on it. It will, just a little smear. Qtips, vitamins, just like a multivitamin. Help round out your diet a bit. I'm not going to get into the vitamin debate. I don't believe that they can provide everything for you, but I think they can supplement certain things out there that you might be lacking. Extra sunglasses. If your sunglasses break on a trip, I've had that happen. On a really bright, sunny, long trip, that's actually a pretty big problem. Restock toothpaste and toilet paper. It'd be easy to just take my Toiletries bag and throw it in my big bag and think I'm good to go, but it might be running low on TP or toothpaste. The power bank, which for me is just our drone batteries. The 3 of them fit into a housing which you can actually charge off of, so it's really handy. Powers the drone and can charge things off of it. Clean clothes and chips in the car. So once you get back from a long trip, especially if you have a long drive after that, it's really nice to get back to the car and there's some clean clothes you can change into and a snack. For me, that's chips. But you gotta be careful that it's not really stinky snack because you might have a bear trying to get into your car. Chips, I think, are pretty well packaged up. I don't think they would give off much odor. And clip your toenails and your fingernails before a trip. It's just nice to not have to think about that. That's it for this one. I'll put my checklists below in the video description if you want to use them. On to the next one.